Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling completely drained, emotionally exhausted, as if you've just fought a battle you never agreed to fight? You look at your phone and you see no obvious insults, no clear attacks, just words. But your soul feels heavy. Your mind is racing. You feel uncapped, responsible for a problem that wasn't yours, for a feeling you didn't create. This is the first sign, the silent alarm bell of your psyche, telling you that an invasion has taken place. Not an invasion of your home or your privacy, but something far more intimate. An invasion of your mind. The unconscious of someone else. The renowned psychiatrist Carl Jung dedicated his life to mapping these hidden territories of the human soul. He discovered that what we are conscious of is merely the tip of an enormous iceberg. The rest, the vast and powerful unconscious, governs our lives from the shadows. And here is the most dangerous truth of all. This doesn't just apply to you. It applies to everyone you know, everyone you love, everyone you trust. When a person is blind to their own darkness, that darkness doesn't just vanish. It seeks a host, a vessel, a screen upon which it can project its hidden movie. And so often, that screen is you. You become an actor in a play you never auditioned for, speaking lines you never learned, trying to resolve a conflict that began in someone else's past. You think you're being kind, empathetic, a good friend, a good partner. But meanwhile, you are slowly sinking. You are losing contact with your own reality, your own feelings, your own soul. You are being colonized. This is not a theory. This is a psychological war, fought in the quiet moments after a conversation, in the doubt that creeps in at 3 a.m., in the gradual erosion of your spirit. And your first weapon in this war is awareness, the simple yet revolutionary act of asking, is this feeling truly mine, or has it been placed inside me? Imagine a person who is endlessly fascinating. They draw you in with their depth, their sensitivity, their stories of pain and triumph. You feel special, chosen to see the real them behind the curtain. They confide in you, and in return, you offer your empathy, your support, your energy. But then, a shift occurs, a subtle change in the weather. You express a need of your own, and you're met with a sigh, a disappointed look. You achieved something great, and they remind you of a time they failed. You set a small boundary, and suddenly, you are the villain. You are the one being cold, insensitive, just like everyone else who hurt them. You are now living on a psychological battlefield, and the rules of engagement change by the minute. Jung called this mechanism projection. It is the unconscious act of casting out what we find unacceptable in ourselves and seeing it in others. The person who cannot face their own insecurity will project arrogance onto you. The person who represses their anger will see you as hostile. The person who denies their own neediness will make you feel clingy and dependent. They're not doing this with conscious malice. That is what makes them so dangerously effective. They genuinely believe you are the source of their pain. They are the unconscious manipulator, and they are often the most charming people in the room. They don't need to shout or demand. Their weapon is a wounded look. Their strategy is a guilt trip disguised as vulnerability. You find yourself constantly apologizing, constantly explaining, constantly trying to prove that you are not the person they're accusing you of being. You are fighting a ghost, a shadow of their own creation. And with every round you fight, you lose a little more of yourself. Jung warned that living under these projections is like living in a house of mirrors. You cease to be a person and become a symbol, a savior, a persecutor, a forgotten parent, an idealized lover. You are playing a role in their internal drama. And the most tragic part, none of these roles is who you truly are. To break free, you must stop trying to convince the mirror. You must turn away and look instead at your own reflection. You must reclaim your narrative. We live in a world of curated perfection, of flawless Instagram feeds and LinkedIn success stories. We are taught to perform, to be the ideal employee, the perfect partner, the endlessly resilient friend. And for some, this performance isn't just a part of life, it is their life. This is the bearer of the persona. Jung defined the persona as the social mask we wear to fit into the world. It's necessary. It allows us to be polite, to function in society. But for this type of person, the mask has fused to their face. They have become the mask. They are always agreeable, always positive, always saying the right thing. On the surface, they seem like the ideal person. But if you live with them, work with them, love them, you start to feel a strange emptiness, a chilling lack of authenticity. Every conversation feels rehearsed. Every emotion feels measured. You never see them truly angry, or deeply sad, or irrationally joyful. There is a vacuum where their humanity should be, because behind the impeccable image is a soul in ruins. Everything spontaneous, everything messy. Everything real has been locked away in the basement of their psyche to maintain the perfect image. And this repression has a cost. Jung said that the persona is what a person is not, but what he himself and others think he is. It is a beautiful, empty shell, and the bearer of this shell will inevitably project their demand for perfection onto you. They expect you to play your part in their perfect play. If you express a raw emotion, a doubt, a failure, they will withdraw. They will become uncomfortable. They might even try to fix you, to get you back on script. Your authenticity becomes a threat to their carefully constructed world. Coexisting with them is not just lonely. It's contagious. You start to police your own feelings. You start to hide your flaws. You begin to wear a mask yourself, just to maintain harmony in their artificial paradise. But a soul cannot breathe behind a mask forever. The pressure builds, and what is repressed always returns. What happens to everything that is locked away? The anger, the envy, the selfishness? The desires deemed unacceptable. It does not disappear. It gathers power in the darkness. It ferments. It transforms into a psychological entity of immense power, what Jung called the shadow. And the person who has spent a lifetime running from their own darkness becomes its ultimate prisoner. This is the owner of the repressed shadow. Outwardly, they are often pillars of the community. They are disciplined, moral, controlled. They preach moderation and righteousness. But their inner world is a pressure cooker of denied impulses. They have tried to be only light, and in doing so, they have given their darkness a life of its own. They are terrified of any weakness, because it mirrors the fragility they refuse to acknowledge in themselves. They are disgusted by spontaneity, because it represents the loss of control they deeply fear. They live in a state of constant, exhausting vigilance over an internal enemy they will not name. And then, it happens. A tiny crack in the dam, a misplaced key, a traffic jam, a simple question asked at the wrong time, and the shadow erupts. The kind neighbor screams with shocking fury. The disciplined father falls into a days-long silence. The moralizing friend launches a passive-aggressive attack over something trivial. The reaction is always disproportionate, always shocking, because you are not just reacting to the spilled coffee. You are receiving the full force of decades of repressed emotion. You are facing their entire shadow. ... All at once. And then, just as quickly as it came, it's gone. The mask of control snaps back into place. They may even apologize, or, more confusingly, deny the outburst ever happened. This creates a terrifying emotional whiplash. You're left questioning your own perception. Did that really happen? Maybe I overreacted. This is the gaslighting effect of the repressed shadow. It makes you doubt your own reality. Living with this is like living next to a dormant volcano. The landscape is beautiful, but you are always waiting for the ground to shake. You are always waiting for the explosion. And with each tremor, a little more of your own sense of safety is destroyed. There is a more insidious form of this repression, one that disguises itself not as perfection, but as virtue. This is the moral controller. This archetype doesn't just repress their shadow, they weaponize it against others. Their own denied sins become the sins they relentlessly hunt in the people around them. They are the self-appointed judges of the human soul. They use the language of morality, ethics, and righteousness not as a guide for their own behavior, but as a tool for control. They project their own hidden desires, their envy, their lust for power, onto you, and then they condemn you for it. You pursue a promotion, they call you ambitious and warn you about losing your values. You enjoy a moment of luxury, they remind you of those less fortunate. You express a sexual desire, they label you impure. Their criticism is always cloaked in concern. I'm only saying this because I care about you. Someone has to tell you the truth. But this truth is a poison, designed to make you feel guilty for being human, for living, for wanting. Jung saw this extreme moralism as one of the greatest barriers to psychological growth. The moral controller does not want wholeness. They want obedience. They need you to be the sinner, so they can play the saint. They need you to be the chaos, so they can be the order. This dynamic is devastating. It doesn't just make you doubt your actions, it makes you doubt your very character. You start to feel a deep sense of shame for your natural impulses. You begin to believe that there is something fundamentally wrong with you. Your spirit, once vibrant and curious, becomes small, afraid, and ashamed. You internalize their judgment until their voice becomes your own. Their prison becomes your mind. But this moralizing control is often just a desperate attempt to manage a psyche that is itself fractured and on the verge of coming apart. What if a person isn't just influenced by their past, but is actively possessed by it? Their reactions aren't just exaggerated. They are completely disconnected from the present moment. One moment, they are loving and present. The next, a switch flips. Their eyes change. Their voice tightens. They are responding not to you, but to a ghost from their past. You are now facing the complexed individual. For Jung, a complex is an autonomous cluster of emotions, memories, and perceptions that lives in the unconscious. It's like a splinter psyche, a separate personality fragment formed around a deep wound often from childhood. When triggered, this complex takes full control of the person's consciousness. It's as if a ghost has jumped into the machine and is now driving. You might accidentally use a tone of voice that echoes a critical parent, and suddenly you are that parent. You might need to work late, triggering an ancient abandonment complex, and you are now the betrayer. There is no reasoning with a complex. It operates on a logic of pure emotion, pure trauma. You find yourself constantly walking on eggshells, trying to avoid landmines you cannot see. You edit your behavior. You suppress your personality. You become a shadow of yourself, all in a futile attempt to keep the ghosts asleep. The most confusing part: when the complex passes, the person often returns to their normal self. They might be apologetic, or they might act as if nothing happened. This cycle of rupture and repair, of pain and love, is psychologically addictive. It creates a trauma bond. You stay for the wonderful person they can be, hoping that this time they will stay, but you are in love with the calm between the storms. The complexed individual is not evil. They are suffering. They are haunted. But that does not make their effect on you any less destructive. Being in a relationship with them is a form of psychological guerrilla warfare. You are never safe. The past is always present, and you are always one wrong word away from an ambush. The final archetype does not attack. It absorbs. It does not explode. It erodes. This is the psychic vampire. They don't want to fight you. They want to feed on you. Their weapon is not projection or repression, but enmeshment. They create a symbiotic relationship where your energy, your time, your attention becomes the oxygen they need to survive. They present themselves as helpless. They need your advice, your comfort, your constant reassurance. They share endless problems, but never take your solutions. They create crises that only you can solve. You start as a supportive friend. You offer a listening ear, but soon you are their entire support system. Your phone is constantly buzzing with their anxiety. Your plans are constantly interrupted by their emergencies. You give and you give and you give, and you feel good about it. You feel needed, important. But slowly, a deep exhaustion sets in. It's not just tiredness, it's a soul-level drain. You feel empty, hollowed out. You have nothing left for your own life, your own dreams, your own problems. You try to pull back, to create space, and that's when the manipulation reveals itself. You are met with guilt trips. I thought you were my friend. I have no one else. You're abandoning me just like everyone else. The victim becomes the accuser. Your empathy, your greatest strength, has been used as a weapon against you. Jung warned that these relationships are one of the biggest threats to individuation, the process of becoming your whole unique self. The psychic vampire doesn't see you as a separate person. You are an extension of them, a tool for their emotional regulation. Your identity dissolves into their neediness. You lose yourself in the act of trying to save them. Freeing yourself from a psychic vampire is not an act of cruelty. It is an act of survival. It is the recognition that you cannot pour from an empty cup, that you are not responsible for another person's emotional ecosystem. It is the courageous act of choosing your own soul. So where do we go from here? After mapping this terrifying landscape of the human unconscious, is there any hope? Jung would shout a resounding, and yes, the entire point of making the unconscious conscious is not to live in fear, but to step into our power. The path forward is not about blaming others. It is about reclaiming sovereignty. Sovereignty over your own mind, your own emotions, and your own energy. The first and most profound step is awareness. Simply noticing the patterns. Asking yourself after an interaction, do I feel energized or drained? Do I feel seen or used? Is this feeling mine or was it handed to me? This simple act of questioning, isn't that everything? Is a revolutionary act of self-defense. The second step is boundaries, not walls of anger, but fences of self-respect. Boundaries are not about controlling the other person. They are about controlling your own exposure to them. It is saying, I can love you from a distance. I can hear your problem for 10 minutes, but I cannot solve it for you. I cannot engage in a conversation where I am being blamed for feelings I did not create. Boundaries define where you end and where others begin. The final and most important step is self-confrontation. This is the hardest part. Jung's work was never meant to be merely a tool for judging others. It is a mirror for ourselves. We must have the courage to ask, listen, where have I been the unconscious manipulator? When have I hidden behind a mask of perfection? What parts of my own shadow am I projecting onto my partner, my friends, my colleagues? This is not about self-punishment. It is about integration. Wholeness does not mean being only light. It means embracing the full spectrum of your humanity. Your anger, your compassion, your selfishness, your generosity. When we make the unconscious conscious, we take back its power. We stop being puppets of our hidden wounds, and we become the authors of our own lives. This journey is not easy, but it is the only journey worth taking. The journey back to yourself, this awareness. This journey, it changes everything. It redefines every relationship you have, and every relationship you will ever choose to have. You will no longer walk into rooms blindly. You will walk in with a new sense of discernment. You will feel the energy. You will notice the patterns. You will hear the subtle language of the unconscious. You will protect your peace, not with paranoia, but with profound respect for your own psyche. You will start to attract a different kind of person. People who are also on the path of self-awareness. People who take responsibility for their own shadows. Relationships will transform from battles of projection to alliances of growth, where you are not there to complete each other, but to help each other become more complete. This is the ultimate transformation. From being a host for the unconscious of others, to becoming the conscious architect of your own life. Your mind is not a public park. It is sacred ground. Guard it, cherish it, honor it, and only allow in those who respect its sovereignty. Now, I turn this over to you. This is not just information to consume. This is a mirror to look into. True change happens in the space between the video ending and you taking action. So here is your first act of conscious choice. Look at the 6 profiles we discussed. The unconscious manipulator, the bearer of the persona, the owner of the repressed shadow, the moral controller, the complexed individual, the psychic vampire. I want you to do 2 things. First, think of someone in your life who embodies one of these patterns. Just acknowledge it. Name it silently to yourself. That act of naming strips it of its power. Second, and this is the brave part, I want you to look inward. With radical honesty, ask yourself, which of these patterns live in me? Where have I been the vampire? said, draining someone's energy because I refuse to face my own emptiness. When have I been the moral controller, judging others to avoid my own shame? We all have these aspects. Wholeness is not about perfection. It's about acknowledgement. So leave a comment below. Tell me which profile resonated most. Either as something you've experienced, or something you recognize in yourself. Your story, your vulnerability, could be the beacon that helps someone else break free. This is how we build a community of awareness, one comment at a time. And if you are ready to go deeper, to truly integrate these lessons and not just understand them intellectually, I have created a free guide for you. It's called the Sovereignty Checklist, 5 daily practices to protect your energy and reclaim your mind. The link is the first comment below this video. Download it, use it. It is my gift to you on this journey. And finally, if you are not yet subscribed, and you believe in the power of understanding the human psyche, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because next week, we're going even deeper. We will explore how to have a direct conversation with your own shadow, how to listen to its wisdom, and how to integrate its power. You do not want to miss it. Until then, remember, the goal is not to escape the unconscious. The goal is to bring it into the light so that you and no one else can choose your destiny. See you in the next one. This was only the surface. Want more? Hit subscribe and dive into Cypher.